So the only thing I want from God, this is all I want. This only do I seek. It is to dwell in the house of the divine all the days of my life, to gaze on the beauty of the divine, and to seek God in the temple. Now, what I want from you is help. Help in understanding how somebody could take a gun and shoot up a church or a truck and drive down people who were biking on the West Side Highway. Or even more close to home, understand why a woman would come to Judson Memorial Church 10 days ago and say that she needed to take sanctuary with us because she was being falsely accused of being a terrorist. I want you just to think about that for a minute. We're a church. We have said yes to rapists, murderers, adulterers, opioid users, immigrants, etc., etc., etc. In our gospel, everybody's welcome here. Not just all us good people who have never sinned before, but everybody. And when this woman came in to ask for sanctuary, a whole range of things happened. The naive pastor, namely me, said, "Come back on Friday, I'll try to help you." The savvy organizer of the new sanctuary movement said, "Donna, get rid of her. She is gaming you. She wants you to say yes so that she can tell the world that the new sanctuary movement and Judson Memorial Church takes in terrorists. And if you don't believe my cynicism around that, ask Planned Parenthood, or ask any number of other decent organizations who have been used." So, regrettably, and Michael Crumpler and I have only talked about this a little bit. Where are you, Michael? Someplace close? Yeah. I've only talked to my moderator about this a little bit, and I want the conversation to go on and on and on, because this is the conversation. The conversation is, how open can we be when surrounded by foes on many sides? How open can we continue to be? How compromised can we be? We have taken that message off our answering machine. No matter who you are or where you are on God's journey, you are welcome here. We did that because we'd heard it too much, not because we didn't believe it or want to believe it. So it's an open question about how open we should be in the name of Jesus Christ. It's a really big question. Now, since these events of last week, many of you, particularly the church shooting, another church shooting, Michael and I were also together with Mother Emanuel, the congregation from Charleston, South Carolina, in Philadelphia last week, talking to them about what's happened to them. Well, they have resacralized the space in which so many people were killed, and they keep an armed guard at all the doors. They thought they might be able to stop that. The pastor suggested that they do because it was so unwelcoming, and people just said, "No, I will not come to Bible study without an armed guard at the door." Important experiential learning. The Baptist Church in Texas, I'm told, is going to close because they can't figure out how to go back into that space. So about a dozen of you, and I thank you all so much, got into an email conversation and team with Andy and with I about security around here. And I want to just say a few things about it. Number one, we have people whose names you don't know who are watching this place like a hawk every week. Sometimes they're in the balcony, sometimes they're up front. We have them before and after service because we want that front door to be open. We want the door through the gym to be open, and up to the Sunday school, we want to be open. And so we have quiet security and have always had it. Andy, after which shooting, I can't tell you, had a conversation with the local police, did training of the Sunday school teachers, has a whole methodology about how to keep people safe downstairs. We're going to add some things the office has. You know how we usually keep the door propped open into 239, the office area? We have now closed it. We're going to answer the door. More because of this individual who came in than the rest of it. We are also looking at different internal systems for the staff to be able to move around the building more capably. We already have protocols for that. And there are a couple of other things. So, A, I want you to feel secure here. B, I don't think that's possible. C, there's a real war in my heart, and soon I hope in your heart, between security and openness, security and welcome. And we're going to do our best, and everybody's invited to the conversation. If you want to join the group online that's discussing it, please do. And I know Micah and I would very much like to hear any thoughts that you have, Andy as well. So I'm going to go in another direction right now, but I wanted to start there. There's a Yiddish word. Some of you might know it, Schlipskis. Have you ever heard of it? It's a kind of calm in the face of difficulty. It's the calm below anxiety. A writer just accused the NMSBC, a reporter whose name is not here, of having a lot of Schlipskis. It means that you're calm. Or Schlipskis. I'm not Jewish. Verklempt is another useful Yiddish word, and it means upset, but in a warm kind of way. You know, I'm verklempt. I'm feeling a lot about that. And there is a way in which our spiritual condition right now goes from sick and tired of being sick and tired, mad at being mad, angry at being angry all the time, into a kind of calm, and then a kind of almost warm amusement. Like, whatever happened here? How did we get to be in this place at this time, in this moment? I spend a lot of time on the blog, Reverend Gal Blogs. You can't go on it, but I can. Password protected. And there are about 3,000 of us who talk a lot online. And the only conversation that's been happening this week is security. Everybody's congregation wants them to get armed guards at the door. And part of the conversation is, well, at least it beats having fights over whether the pastor precedes or follows the crucifix on the way out of the congregational meeting. So it is an improvement, right? It's an improvement. But what I really learned on that blog was that some of the smaller things that one woman said that her congregational leader said that he was not in favor of armed guards, but if they did a fire drill every now and then, it wouldn't bother him. Get the point? Like maybe just pay a little more attention to security. So back to the psalm. The psalm says that what we want above all is to dwell together in the house of the divine. Doing that may mean that we all have to watch out for each other a little bit more, and that might be the best security. And now, to the larger spiritual meaning of all this trouble. On this Veterans Day weekend, when we try to remember veterans who protect our security, and often are people trained in using guns, and we can fight all morning about whether they're trained to use guns for good reasons or bad reasons, but they are trained to use guns. I want to remember the meaning not just of this great psalm of confidence, the David Psalm of confidence, but also to show its connections with Greek tragedy. Sophocles was a general. He wrote 2,500 years ago a great play called Ajax, whom some of you may know it. Ajax is the story of a warrior who is abandoned by his generals, finds that his weapons killed so many people he was disgusted with himself. He goes into a deep depression and he finally kills himself. Isn't that kind of the pattern of these murders? Almost like wounded people are going to the final moment of killing themselves, but taking some other people out along the way. Tecmessa, the wife of Ajax, has gorgeous, gorgeous words in which she says that his tragedy, his lost meaning due to war and weapons and violence that overtook him, that his tragedy destroyed her and their whole family and their whole tribe as well. The director of the project that brought Ajax back has developed a program called the Theater of War, and he's using Greek tragedy to heal the moral wounds of veterans. He performed Antigone in Ferguson. Antigone is now here in New York being performed. And the goal of the project is to heal the distress of veterans by using tragedy. They've been performing all over the world. They performed in Guantanamo and in Japan, in many places where soldiers sit out their isolation and their confusion. What they're arguing is that tragedy can save us from despair. Many people have argued that for a long time, that tragedy faces the darkness of human community with human community, that that's all we've got. And they at least know how to put suffering into some kind of meaning. And what they're arguing is, the director's man named Brian Dores, what he's arguing is that tragedy is not just therapeutic, and it's not just cathartic, and above all, it is not just morale boosting. When he first went to raise money to do these plays for these soldiers, they said, "Oh, I get it. This is under morale boosting. We have a budget for that." And he said, "It is not morale boosting. I want people to leave this theater having seen these plays done by my people without any staging. I want them to see these plays and wish they had never come to the theater." He says theater is not just therapeutic, and it's not just cathartic. It is instead facing into the fierce beauty of what it means to be a human being. Human beings are broken right down the middle. Not just our society, not just our culture, but human beings. Things both pour out of us and pour into us. And healing is having some empathy for that, who we are, even having empathy for the people who drive trucks into bicyclers and who bomb churches and have been doing it for a long time. Brian Dory's new book is called All That You See Here is God. All that you've seen here is God. that it is the tragedy and the humanity and the empathy in the tragedy that is God. Now, obviously, he writes a great proposal. He's being funded by the VA right now, $1.4 million to take these plays everywhere. That's great news. And in those proposals, he says, my goal is to destigmatize psychological injury. Wouldn't that be helpful? Wouldn't that be helpful to destigmatize the Ajax who comes back from war, ruins everything, and then kills himself? What Brian also says is that the future of the past is bright. What an idea. What an idea. Did you know that veteran suicides are up by 21% since 2001? 21% up since 2001. And for women soldiers, it's 85% up. Where is Tecmessa when we need her to tell about the spread of war? So, there is a place between calm and anxiety. The place we find it is in dwelling in the house of the divine together, but not coming here to do morale boosting. It's bigger than morale boosting. Through tragedy, the Greeks faced the darkness of human community as a community. They lived deeply in the tension between hope and hopelessness. They were able to traverse the road between verklempt and calm. They restored each other's confidence regularly. That's why we will keep this place as open as we can in order to restore each other's confidence regularly. Amen.